All right, if you guys remember in the last video, we've got the engine and transmission in this car. So this is Alex's car, of course. We're putting it together for him. Fully built engine, the fully built engine, basically. It's also got a upgraded clutch, upgraded billet bleeder valve in the transmission. Got a fully built head on this thing, all forged internals, ready to rock and roll. So since that video, this is what I've got done. We've got the exhaust manifold and turbo put back on. We've got all the lines ran to it. We've got the thermostat housing on, hooked up all the coolant lines back there in the back. So I've started in the back. I did that before I put the axles in, just so I had a little extra room back there. Of course, went ahead and got both axles back in the transmission, all the suspension, brakes and stuff hooked back up, and the tires are back on. So today I'm gonna be working kind of around to the front of the engine, getting all the accessories, getting all the pulleys and stuff on, making sure the wiring harness is laying where it's supposed to be laying, because there are a ton of plugs on this thing. I pretty much remember what most of it is. There's a few things I deleted off of my car that I'm probably gonna have to look and see where they go on this car, because this car still has everything. Still got the AC, the power steering, the coolant pump for the turbo. It's still got everything on it. So there's a couple stuff that I might not remember, but I'm gonna end up figuring out where this stuff goes by the end of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to work on this, and I'll do a checkup here in a minute. All right, update time. It's still in the 90s. I think it's 100 in the garage, but it is what it is. This is where we're currently sitting. We've got, where did we start at? Okay, thermostat housing was on, turbo was on. Started kind of moving around, plugging things in as I went. Went ahead and got the water pump pulley on, the air conditioning bracket, air conditioning hooked up. Of course, the brackets for the alternator and the power steering pump. Those pumps are on, the power steering pump, the alternator's on. All the idler pulleys, the tensioner pulley, serpentine belt. Went ahead and got the intake manifold put on, and we're working all the lines, hoses, and plugs, the sensors, the wiring harness. Everything just kind of wrapping around. I am beat, but I will tell you, I'm pretty surprised I remembered how this stuff goes together, because that car, I haven't worked on it it's been a few years since I've even messed with that car. And that car had almost none of this stuff on it. So it's been a long time since I've worked on a stockish Caliber with all the accessories and stuff on it, but overall, it's not too hard. You can pretty well see where everything goes. If I'm missing a bolt, there's a box of bolts over here in the corner. I just kind of find one that looks like it should fit, make sure the length is right, make sure the threads are right, or I'll go reference that engine over there. It's got some of the stuff that I needed. I also have bags and bags of bolts and extra hardware where Gooch, I basically deleted everything. You know, he didn't have this power steering pump. He didn't have the air conditioning down there on the bottom. So all those bolts are actually in bags. I still have all the hardware to Gooch when I took everything off of him. So I've still got everything. So I know everything is in this garage to get this car together. So I'm working on it slowly, piece by piece, making sure everything's tight, making sure everything's torqued. And everything goes on in the right order. Like, I started with the intake manifold and I forgot, I gotta take that back off to get all these pumps and everything on, because you can't get those on with that in the way. So kind of remember some stuff, kind of don't, but it is coming together. Some of the next stuff I'll do is kind of finish up the wiring harness kind of around the block, around the head, around all the accessories. Of course, the battery's got to go in over here. It's going to be one of the last things to go in, so there's going to be some wires hanging out. The vacuum lines for the turbo system, the boost reference lines, all that kind of stuff. His boost controller is hooked up. I'm not really sure what we're doing for a tune yet. I still have to get the fuel system put in. I've got to get the coils in with spark plugs in. Obviously, all the intercooler piping and stuff. I've still got to get the radiator and the intercooler on the front, so there's still a lot of stuff to do. Once everything's assembled, I'm still going to have to, this car's been sitting for like 4+ years. I've got to drain the tank. I don't have to, but I'm going to drain the gas tank and fill it up with some fresh 93 octane to make sure there's no issues at all with the fuel, because turbo cars are kind of iffy about what fuel they get. But I'm also going to fill everything else up with fluids. We're going to go ahead and try to bleed all 4 corners of the brakes. They're probably good because he didn't unhook any of the brake system. But just to make sure, we're going to bleed the brakes anyways. We're going to bleed the clutch line with the bleeder valve. Make sure everything is good. We've got to bleed the power steering system. We've got to bleed the coolant system. All the fluids in this vehicle have to be gone through. We've got to get some new plugs, obviously. The injectors, I'm not sure what I have here. I know he's got a few of them in some boxes. We'll see what he wants to use. And then we also have 2 extra springs for the AGP wastegate. So this is a stock turbo, but it is an AGP aftermarket wastegate. Currently it's hooked up to the factory boost solenoids. I'm not sure what route he's wanting to go with this, so I'm not sure what springs or boost controller setup we need to run yet. So I've still got to talk to him about that stuff. Then he's got a Diablo Sport, I believe. Yeah, so he's got a Diablo tuner in here. I've always done HP tuning on my calibers. So I'll kind of talk to him and see what route he wants to take with that. If he wants to do the Diablo, we've got to figure out how to tune it using that, just because I've never used one before. Or if he wants to move over to HP tuner, I've got that stuff too. So we'll kind of see what we've got to do. There's still a ton of stuff to get done on this car, but overall, this thing is coming together. It is starting to look like an actual engine now. And of course, we'll get the car all cleaned up and see what we can do. All this stuff has been sitting for a few years in a shed. Then I brought it here. It's been here for a few months, just sitting on the floor. I don't know how well all this stuff is going to work. The throttle body's been known to go bad. The pulley on the alternator has been known to go bad. And of course, there's no Freon in the lines for the AC unit, so we've got to charge that back up too. Everything's got to be checked piece by piece. The first step is just going to be get it cranked, get it running, so we can start breaking in the engine, make sure the engine's okay. Then we can start checking little bit by little bit, and then we start going for a drive. It's a new clutch. We've got to break in the clutch, a ton of stuff. So as close as it looks like it is, it's still a good ways out. But overall, it's coming together. That's your update for now, and I'm going to see how much further I can get today. I don't know how much further I'm going to go today, but we'll see. We'll see what we can get done, so I'll come back in a minute. All right, finally at a stopping point. This is where we currently sit. So obviously, the whole front of the car's on, intercooler, AC condenser, radiator, everything hooked up. Got all the overflow jugs, the windshield wiper, coolant overflow, power steering reservoir. Everything is on. I still have to do the coil packs, the fuel rail, the injectors, the fuel lines, that kind of stuff. Obviously, the intake still goes back on, and the intercooler piping up top. All the intercooler piping on the bottom is done. Everything is tight there all the way to the throttle body. So that is going to be my stopping point for tonight. And then hopefully over the next few days or next weekend, we can get back to work on this thing, get it filled up with fluids, get everything flushed and bled, and be pretty close to cranking this thing up, breaking everything in. So I will call it here. We'll see you guys in the next video. Talk to you next time. Bye.